Heavy fighting continues in eastern Ukraine even as peace talks begin between Kiev and Moscow in Turkey, the first such meeting in over 3 years. But hopes remain low, especially given Russian President Vladimir Putin's absence from the talks on the battlefield. Russia has claimed new gains in eastern Ukraine. Russia says its troops have captured settlements in eastern Ukraine, pushing deeper towards key parts like Pokrovsk, Sloviansk. But Ukraine's military has not confirmed these claims. In fact, according to war trackers, Russian troops were repelled in Torsk. In fact, Ukraine has reported that battles have been raging all along the 1,100-kilometer front. On Friday, the Russian Defense Ministry released a video showing Russian forces raising the Russian flag in another settlement in eastern Donetsk. And Ukraine's top military commander, meanwhile, says Ukraine is fighting active battles along 1,100 kilometers of the front line. He says that in Russia's war of attrition, it has deployed up to 640,000 troops. Remember, Russia currently holds 20% of Ukraine as the war drags on. Since abandoning its early attempt to seize Kiev in 2022, Russia has focused on capturing Donbass. But while it has taken villages gradually, Ukrainian forces say they are holding lines near Pokrovsk. Meanwhile, talks between Ukraine and Russia concluded in Turkey on Friday. Negotiators from both the countries met in Istanbul and were hosted by the Turkish foreign minister. And he said he hopes these talks lay the groundwork for a possible summit between the leaders. According to reports, the talks lasted well under 2 hours and there was no apparent sign of progress. According to Reuters, Ukraine has dismissed Moscow's demands as non-starters. And we are still waiting for word from the Russian side. And as they met, US President Donald Trump said he will be meeting Putin as soon as we can set it up, quote unquote. Already, Ukraine's president has criticized Russia as unserious. It's because Putin announced that a low-level delegation led by his aide, Vladimir Bendinsky, would take part. Putin has indicated that he regards the talks as a resumption of the 2022 negotiations held in Istanbul soon after the Ukraine war started. Zelensky, who had previously ruled out any talks with Moscow, has also only agreed to attend the talks following Trump's announcement of his support for the talks. But instead of going to Istanbul, Zelensky went to Ankara, where he had direct talks with President Erdogan. The Russian president's spokesman has claimed that Putin is not planning to personally take part in the talks with Ukraine in Turkey. Kiev's delegation is headed by Defense Minister Rustem Umerov. Meanwhile, the US is closely watching from the sidelines. We say that because US President Donald Trump has said that peace is unlikely without a face-to-face meeting with Putin. He says he is ready to meet in Turkey as soon as something happens. And Europe is already doubtful. European leaders meeting in Albania remain skeptical. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that Putin is not serious about peace. Meanwhile, the NATO Secretary General criticized Russia for the fact that Russia sent a low-level delegation to delay real progress. Remember, we've told you, behind closed doors, the US has reportedly floated a ceasefire proposal that includes recognition of Crimea as Russian territory, something that Kiev strongly opposes, but Putin appears unmoved. Russia has so far refused to commit to the said US ceasefire proposal, and now with Russian forces advancing and Ukraine running low on weapons, it looks like the balance on the battlefield will ultimately shape what happens at the talking table. And with neither side showing much willingness to compromise, and America pushing for direct talks between Trump and Putin, any immediate breakthrough looks unlikely. But with the battlefield blazing, all eyes are on Istanbul. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.